Welcome to the Lightforge. This is Abwikta.
This is Merps. Got a lot to talk about this week. Huge changes, unexpected. Okay. So they had this Q&A session on Friday. I was expecting something here or there, perhaps with the arena, but we got big news, and we've sort of separated them out into, I guess, three categories that we'll be talking about today.
Yeah, I mean they got Ben Brode on there, and then they got Ixar, and I think that's when I was a little tipped off that they're gonna make some kind of arena announcement. But we did get a whole lot of information. So if you didn't know, this was something that was like live streamed on Twitch, and it was just the developers kind of talking about what they see for the future of the game and just providing a little bit of information. So we're just gonna jump right into it because there's a lot here. But if you haven't checked it out, I don't know. I don't think you want to like watch the whole stream or anything like that. But you can definitely go read a recap or something about it on Reddit. But for the arena, there are three things. Why don't you go? Why don't you start with the first one?
Sure. So first of all, they are going to be changing the rarity distribution, right? They didn't give exact numbers, but they basically said they will be changing the distribution or the probability of getting commons versus rares versus epic cards. So that's going to be huge. They didn't give much details about it, but I'm guessing I'm assuming that, we're going to see rares a little bit more often. We're going to see sort of cards that are really quite hard to get in the arena a little bit more often, which allows you to play around with more stuff, but it fundamentally changes the strategy that you bring into the arena, right? And that's sort of the first part. The second part is that at some given point, they didn't specify exactly when, Arena will move into standard format. If you guys don't know what standard is, it means the same thing sort of it means in constructed, in which you're going to have this cycle where the latest 2 years of expansions are going to be the cards in play plus the classic set. So, for example, right now in standard for constructed, you do not have.
Whoa, hold on. We're not gonna talk about the rarity rebalancing.
Well, yeah, we're going to talk about it.
Oh,
We
you're
should
just
first,
going over all
yeah,
of
yeah,
them.
yeah, I'm
Okay.
going over all of them first, and then we'll go back to the first one.
Okay.
Standard in constructed right now, they do not have Naxxramas and goblins versus gnomes, right? They don't have those, and also what coming up very soon, they'll also be sort of phasing out other expansions as well. So that's sort of the second big change, arena going from wild to standard. And third, last of all, certainly not least, they're coming out with a monthly arena leaderboard. It will actually come out in February, reflecting January stats. You need to have a minimum of 30 runs. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah. Okay. So those are the three things that are happening. But let's actually talk about them like one by one. So the first thing is the rarity thing, which now we're going back to. And I guess so. The key thing to note is that there's no details on it. They didn't give us specific percentages of what's changing, but they did hint that it is going to be more on like the rare and epic side. It's not that they're going to make rares and epics less. It's that they're going to screw with the rarities to make them appear more often. Because, if you're playing a constructed deck, you see a lot more rares and epics. And if you play an arena, you really don't see all that many rares and epics in comparison. And I guess right off the bat, I don't know how much I like it, at least when it comes to the rares, right? Right now, I think the actual number is like 2.5 or something. Like if you compare the offering odds of a regular common card and the offering odds of a rare card, the rare card appears like 2.5 times. Sorry, the common card appears 2.5 times as much as often. So I don't know, maybe a 1 to 2 ratio. Are you really? Do we really want a ratio that's below 1 to 2? Like, do we want a 1 to 1.5 ratio?
Yeah, I don't know, right? This is out of the three changes, this is the one that I'm the most sort of hesitant about, and especially because they didn't give us exact numbers as well. But the direction that they're going towards, I don't exactly love it because part of the sort of skill or part of the risk analysis is knowing that rare cards are rare and epic cards are really, really rare, right? And sort of playing around that. So, for example, you can play around Light Bomb, but only when you absolutely can afford to. And the closer they put these sort of probabilities together, then the actual less skill you would have to put in there. So I don't know, like what.
I don't know that it's a skill thing. Like, okay, is knowing that the offering rate for a rare is 2.5 versus that it is 1.5, is that a skill, first of all? If it is, it's a pretty stupid skill.
Well, it's an application to the game itself because it's always about risk analysis, right? And being like, okay, do I play around this and like what is the
yeah, but you have to do risk analysis
value.
anyway. It doesn't matter if the number is 1 to 2.5 or 1 to 1.5.
Sure.
So you're just doing a different risk analysis. The skill is the same. You get penalized for not knowing it at all much more, right? Like, if you're just pretending it's 1-to-1 with every card in the pool, then you get penalized more. But to the extent that you're kind of offsetting based on your mind about some particular, like, rarity, then it's all the same amount of skill, I think, kind of by definition. And if you're thinking about it at all, then you're thinking about it. And if you're not thinking about it, then you're not even in the realm in which you care about this, like, nuanced level of skill, right? It's not even something that's...
Right.
I don't even think they write it anywhere in the game that this is how Arena works. It's just something that you have to, like, Google and be like, how do I get better at the Arena? And then you'll find something somewhere that's like, by the way, your first, 10th, 20th, and 30th cards are all guaranteed to be rare, and then you have other chances to get rare cards, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Also, something that was discussed during the stream as well, so sort of a subsection to this, was Ben Brode was talking about how they don't like the fact that Arena is so minion heavy and you don't have that many spells. So they didn't commit to it exactly, but I think they're thinking of adjusting
More
the ratio like
class
spells to
cards.
minions.
Are they? Do you think they're actually going to adjust the ratio of spells to minions rather than just making class cards be of a higher ratio?
Yeah, I don't know, right?
Because that's really weird if they're actually just upping the and it's hard to, like, communicate to people effectively, and they're already really bad at communicating any kind of changes they are already making to the Arena. So to make something more nuanced, especially when it's something like that affects different classes differently, right? Because different classes have different ratios of spells to minions, or, like, I guess you count weapons as spells. It's just, I don't know that they're going to do that, especially given, I mean, we'll tie it in when we talk about the next topic, Standard Arena, but it doesn't seem like Blizzard's MO right now when it comes to the Arena. It doesn't seem like they want to go and do this.
I think it's true. And we have to realize that a lot of these things we're bringing up are just sort of, live stream comments that much less of an announcement rather than like, here's what we like/don't like about the Arena, right? So maybe we'll see that. But it seems like it's safe to assume that there will be some sort of rarity tweaks, right? Yeah.
When it comes to the rarity tweaks, though, it's also going to, I think the epic cards are really where you're going to feel it. Because rare cards, you still sometimes sort of play around them, and even if they make it 1 to 1.5 or whatever, you're still not going to play around them all that frequently. And it's just, I don't think it's going to be that impactful in terms of strategy. In terms of how much you see, it's good to see different cards in the Arena, right? And to see a more diversity in the Arena. And that kind of stuff is, especially if you're going from wild to standard, which is what they indicated they may be doing, then you do want more diversity. And one of the ways is just so you can see certain existing cards more, right? If you add epic cards kind of into the pool of stuff you regularly see, well, all of a sudden you've just added a whole bunch more cards, even as you're taking a bunch of cards away. And these cards get refreshed, and all of that. So it's, and there are also cards that I guess potentially, if you play Constructed, you would also know about them, because Constructed doesn't really distinguish between the rarities as much.
Yeah, yeah. If you're playing the meta, you basically have to shell out the cost for these cards.
Yeah.
Um,
So, do you think that, I know they didn't say it specifically, but do you think they meant anything about legendaries?
I don't
'Cause
know.
it is a rarity. Like, we don't think of legendaries as a rarity because it's pretty much impossible to get one in the arena. You actually get one out of every, like, 3-4 runs. But, like, we
Right.
still think that it's, like, impossible to get any legendary. But do you think they may be, like, upping the rate of legendaries to make arena, potentially more exciting, or just to use more cards, right? Like we were talking about?
I could definitely see it. So I know people have suggested on forums previously, it's like, why don't we have a guaranteed legendary
Yeah.
in every deck, right? It's just like it's fun, and arena is about even playing fields, and you just have a legendary. And I'm not a fan of that idea. I don't like a guaranteed whatever one of these super rare cards. But I can definitely see the appeal. People like playing arena because of its randomness, because of sort of its anything can happen kind of thing, and also a lot of legendaries are very powerful and also synergistically powerful, right? So you can get sort of these very synergistic decks, and people can have good stories from them. I'm guessing they would tweak it. It would seem weird that they tweak everything else, but they don't tweak legendaries. Um, I wouldn't be such a huge fan of that, but who knows? Like it's something that I care so little about right now because it is pretty rare, and even when you get a legendary, most of the time it's not great, right? And
Yeah, I mean,
then
we've done this before, right? You can look at our tier
yeah,
list. The average legendary is like a very tiny bit better than the average card.
right.
Like,
And
period.
there's a very sort of it's very polarized,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of really bad ones, and there's a lot of really good ones. And even when you get the really good ones, they tend to be very expensive. So you have that problem.
And they generally
Yeah.
swing the board a lot. Because that's what they're designed for, right? They're big, they're powerful, they're story creating, and so that could be good for the arena in terms of excitement, but it's like definitely bad for skill. Like,
Yeah.
just by making the bigger swings you make, the easier it is to come back. It's that blue shell effect from Mario Kart, right? Like, if you start throwing more and more blue shells in the game, it's just
Oh God.
it's not that it doesn't take skill to use a blue shell or to figure it out or to maybe not be first and to be like, there's still stuff involved, but you can't say that adding it adds more skill. It's just a way for the player who's behind to not be like, well, the game's already over, I still have to like complete 3 laps, this is not fun.
This is okay. As soon as you compare anything to the blue shell, it automatically engenders hatred. I'm just like, now I hate legendaries. Now I absolutely hate
Now
legendaries.
you're with me, and now this is my world, right? Where like fun is just not it's not a desirable thing when fun is created for its own sake.
I was like, wow. I used to think legendaries were just like, I don't care about them. And now I legitimately hate legendaries because I see them as a blue shell. And blue shells are the worst item like ever created.
I mean, that's why I stopped playing
gosh.
Mario Kart. Well, it was a great game, but then the blue shells got more and more ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So this is kind of the rarity discussion, and like I agree with you. I think there's almost 0% chance if they're going to touch rarity that they're not going to make more legendaries more frequently. Now, you still never play around any legendary because they could
No.
triple, they can quadruple, they can 10 times the amount of legendaries you get in the arena, and you would still never play around any of them unless you were like absolutely, sure, and then you're like, okay, let's play around a Deathwing. But generally, you're still not like it's not good for the competitive part of it. But hey, if they're doing it, I don't think I'm terribly against it. Just because, imagine if that were the case before you knew the arena as it is, and the arena instead started with every arena has one legendary, and you get it for your first pick, and it like sets the tone for the deck. That's what arena is. I think I wouldn't have minded at all just like getting into it because I wouldn't have known this arena, right? I would have thought, oh, Blizzard's just not making this product. And so, like, if they're doing it I know people are going to complain. I'm going to complain because it lowers skill and creates more RNG, but still, like, I'm not too against that. The excitement factor, it's just something that I almost I wonder why they didn't do, right? Like, not for me, but for people, for like, casuals.
Right. And we were just talking about it in previous Lightforge. Like they have to do something to make Arena more appealing for not the people who are try harding and also have a podcast. Like not
Yeah,
people like
not
us.
for people with podcasts.
People who play one or two arena runs a week or maybe even a month, right? But those add up so much when you look at the entire
Yeah.
country and we look at the world. And also new arena players, right?
Yes.
That's a lot of fun. They're like, wait, I don't have I don't have
Like any legendaries.
Ragnaroses or Sylvanuses, but you're saying I have a decent chance of drafting one? Like, that's awesome. I want to play
Guaranteed
around
chance
with it.
of getting a Cho.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, guaranteed chance of getting a Cho. Yeah, getting both Nat Pagels, right? You can get the dark one and the normal one in a draft. There you go.
Mm-hmm. So that's that's gonna change the arena a lot, right? And one of the other things that it does that we haven't talked about, I'm gonna touch it a little bit, is it's gonna affect class balance just by making the rares and epics more frequently seen, because it is not the case that all classes have the same quality of cards at commons, rares, and epics. In fact, the class with like the worst rares and epics is probably mage, right? Like the class that's been sitting on top of everything. Like, what do you think of when you think of great mage rares and epics? From our tier list, we have like Fallen Hero, Babbling Book, and then like Blizzard is okay. Like, that's not a lot. You compare that to I don't know. I'm just gonna pick a random class. Paladin.
I was like, Paladin.
Okay, so maybe not a random class.
I was like, are you gonna go random or are you gonna go Paladin, in which they have pretty freaking good
Muster for Battle, Aldor Peacekeeper, Argent Lance, Rallying Blade, Grime Street Protector, and all of those are ones above 70. And 70 is like line of ridiculousness for our tier list, whereas mages have nothing over 70. Fallen Hero is only a 69.
If it goes if it tilts in favor of rares and epics, like Paladins will suddenly see a huge rise, just because they've always been one of the classes with good card quality, but like really good card quality on the high rarities.
Yeah, exactly. And another class that's going to be on the rise is a warrior, right?
Oh yeah, true.
King's Defender, Gorehowl, Crush, Frothing Berserker, Brass Knuckles, Grime Street Pawnbroker.
Even like Brawl, which isn't a great card by itself, but it's one of those cards that swings the board.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Shamans are going to be good. You have the weapons, right? Like the Shaman's rare and epic weapons are where it's at. Power Mace, Hammer of Twilight, Jade Claws, Charged Hammer. Like, they're game changing. And then there's a bunch of like other things that are pretty okay. Like Lightning Storm, Thing from Below, Master of Evolution, Thunderbluff Valiant, Earth Ellie,
Elemental Destruction, something that you never play
around right now. Exactly. Doomhammer.
Right. Doomhammer. Oh gosh.
Like Shaman's a different animal once this change kicks in.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely will usher in an entirely new meta, and you have to see the classes differently. Like Shamans will all be every class will be different in terms of power, in terms of expectations. If they do a rarity rebalance, we are looking at a brand new game. And that's not hyperbole. I don't think that's hyperbole. I think that's just honestly true. You're basically playing with 9 new classes.
Yes, exactly. It's the equivalent of... and so they're talking about creating this... like, the next expansion may not be an adventure. It may be another, like, large set.
That'd be awesome.
Which will be really interesting. But if you add a large set, and then you add, like, standard to WoW change, and then you add this rarity change... It's like by far the biggest change ever in the arena. It's going to be totally different. Like, base assumptions that we're making right now would all just go out the window. But I just want to highlight one more class that's going to get a lot of love if this change happens, which is Hunter. Steam Weedle Sniper, Savannah Highmane, Gladiator's Longbow, Explosive Shot, Piranha Launcher, Eaglehorn Bow, Call of the Wild, of course. Like,
yeah.
Not to mention Power Shot, Ball of Spiders. Like, those are also like game-changing cards that maybe a little more situational, but yeah. So it's going to be interesting if this happens. And to what degree it happens, right? But to any degree that it happens, it's going to be better for those classes. And it's good that it's better. Like, Paladin aside, it's like we said this in the last Lightforge, or maybe the Lightforge before that. Like, we want Coghammer and Muster for Battle to just, like, not be cards, because they're, like, way too good no matter what capacity you put them in. But, like, that aside, you kind of want these other classes to be a little better. Like, Paladin's not a good class right now. It's like a okay class right now. So if you could remove Coghammer or Muster for Battle and add it to the ban list, you could definitely increase its power. It'll probably need an increase in power. And Warriors always need an increase in power. Hunter, Shaman. So it's a pretty elegant way of fixing a lot of things. Oh, and if it tilts towards epics, like look at Priest. Light Bomb, Cabal Shadow Priest, Dragonfire Potion, Forbidden Shaping. All epics.
Forbidden Shaping. Wow. Yeah. That's a card in which like you always sort of want to play, but you never get the chance to play it.
Yeah.
Right? That's pretty cool.
Like out of the 9 epic cards that exist for each class, 4 of them are insanely good for the priest.
Yeah.
Like they're like the best cards. So if you see more epics, you're gonna see a lot of these great priest cards too.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Let's talk about the big thing. This is the next news, the next change that's coming to the arena. I think is the big one, right?
Well, I think the rarity rebalance and the standard, I think they're about the same for me.
Okay.
Anyways, Arena is moving to standard, right? For the longest time, Arena has been wild. It did not go into standard when Constructed went into standard. Which was during the Old Gods, right? During the Old Gods expansion. And now Team 5 has basically announced that they're moving to standard for kind of, I'm guessing, the same reasons that we talked about, right?
Mercs, I am an arena player. What is standard?
I explained it at the very beginning. Did you not listen to me? You are a terrible new arena player. You lack information, like you just can't take in information. Is this what we're doing with new players?
I mean, yeah, I think they'd be worse than I am. I feel like I would set like the floor for like, the ceiling for like a new player. Maybe the floor. I'm confused. Anyway, let's just go over it again, right? Like, standard is the rotation of sets. It's every 2 years, and what that means is when they put this change in, it's not going to be what currently exists at standard, but it'll be the new standard, because this change isn't coming in for at least one more expansion, right? It's not like Blizzard's announcing changes that are going to happen next month. They're like, we're thinking about doing this in the future, probably meaning April or May, whenever the expansion comes out. So in April or May for the 2017 expansion, what sets are rotating out of Arena?
I'm done with you. Just answer your own question and give me like 30 seconds.
All right. Okay. So the sets that are rotating out are Nax, GVG. These 2 sets are already out in Constructed Standard. But in addition to that, for the Arena, when the new rotation comes in, and for Constructed, but when we're talking about Arena Standard, we're also including the following sets being out. Being removed, which is BRM, which is not too offensive of a set, but then also TGT and LOE, which are very, very arena-defining sets. In addition to GVG, right? GVG is very arena-defining too.
Yeah, GVG is definitely very arena-defining because in a lot of those early sets as well, that's when they made cards that are a little bit too powerful, right? Like that's sort of
Shredder.
Piloted Shredder, Zombie Chow,
Haunted Creeper.
Yeah, Haunted Creeper. It's these cards that gave a little bit too much early game tempo, right? Mm-hmm. And which really spawned sort of the Curvestone problem, where people were just like, if you just get the early drops, these overstated, over-tempoed cards, you're just gonna win. So
yeah. I'm looking at everything that's over a 60 right now on our base tier list. And
Right.
other than like standard cards, the other ones are North Sea Kraken, Piloted Shredder, Haunted Creeper, and Bog Creeper. So Bog Creeper aside, the other three are all leaving.
Right. And the other three are small cards, right?
Well, North Sea Kraken's a big one. But
Oh, sorry. Other two.
but Haunted Creeper and Piloted Shredder are small cards. And if you're talking about curve cards, rated 60, which is very, very close to being above 60, and it's just an arbitrary line I'm using, is Evil Heckler, which is leaving, Flame Juggler, which is leaving, and Arubian Prophet and Stormwind Champion, which are not leaving.
Yeah. So lots of good cards are leaving, and they tend to be on the smaller side, right? Yeah, it's certainly interesting, and it takes Arena in a new direction. Um, where do I even begin? All right, let's begin with sort of how the community reacted, right? So this is big news, and it seems like on the main Hearthstone subreddit, not a lot of people like this change. A lot of people are saying, I don't like this change just because of I view Arena as sort of wild, right?
Yeah.
Like I view it as always wild. I like playing with these cards. I like the fact that sort of anything can happen in the arena. So that's why I don't like the change. What do you think?
It's Arena, right? You take a bunch of cards, you throw them in a pile, and you pick some, and then you play with it. That's like the pure Arena. That's kind of what they're selling, right? That's the most pure of a limited kind of format where you just get random stuff and you make it work. And you're still getting random stuff in a standard set, but now you're in more and more of a controlled randomness. So I call it purity. I think you can also call it elegance. But in whatever way, the idea is the more, especially with something like Arena, the simpler you make your system design and the more you let like the natural laws of the game dictate what the meta is, dictate how, like, what's good, what's bad, how things go. The more pure it is, the more elegant the rule set is, and the more it feels like an arena rather than like, you know, two-eyed jack, or I don't know. I don't want to play poker. I mean, I used to play poker, but I didn't play bespoke rules. But like, you know, you could add a million rules to like simple poker, right?
Sure.
And then you play with these house rules, you play with these dealer's choice rules, and it's fun. But if you're doing like a big competition or something, it doesn't feel like it's the same experience for everyone, right? Like if you're trying to standardize something, you want the elegance, or else it feels like you're just doing brawls every week. So I know that, you know, like Ratsma wants a different rule set for the arena every week or so to keep things fresh. But I'm definitely of the camp that's like, I want the elegance. I want this to be like a timeless thing.
Yes. There has to, like, we keep on talking about whenever you make a decision, there has to be elegance behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's sort of an Occam's razor kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And whenever you do something, if there's so many bells and whistles, it's not just about confusing new players. It's also about, like, if there's so many moving pieces.
You
and
ask
like
the question, why? Why are these rules there? And you don't get a compelling answer for why these particular rules are there. You just get the answer that, well, we needed some rules, so we picked these out of a hat and they're gonna be it, and screw you, these cards that didn't make it.
So overall, are you like on a scale of 1 to 10? How much do you like this? Like if assuming and there's no changes yet, but assuming they just put Arena in the same standard category as Constructed, right? They move at the same time. The card pool is the same. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you like this? 10 being like it's like your favorite thing in the world,
and 5 being I don't care either way.
Yeah, yeah. So if it's below 5, you actually dislike it. Above 5, you actually like it.
So I would say it's like a 7.
Okay.
That may be a little generous to it, but just because I think okay, so people have reactions that are like 2 to 1 negative or 3 to 1 negative if you just poll people, which is what kind of Reddit does. But then you realize these people don't play the arena. In fact, they start their comments with, I don't play the arena, but I think, and it gets like, you know, upvoted a lot, and it seems like that's people's comments. So I don't know to what extent these people's opinions really matter compared to like the wider arena community, because on one hand, they don't play the arena, or like they play the arena very infrequently. So like, what do they know? On the other hand, these are the exact people you're trying to actually get to play the arena. Because
Sure.
they're the
Yeah.
people with one foot in already, right? They already like Hearthstone. They're already playing Hearthstone. You can get these people to play Limited. Probably more so than you can get a random person on the street to pick up Hearthstone, install it, and then play Arena. So there seems to be this natural pushback on it, and I think it stems from the same place I was talking about, just this idea of purity. You were talking about Occam's razor, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah, it's just what the arena seems like it should be. But if you're looking at the actual effects, like when you break down and you don't call it anything and you don't have a starting point or endpoint, and all you do is compare two systems and what the difference between the two systems are, and you list out the pros and cons, I think it's almost impossible to end up concluding that the game would be a better game mode if it stayed wild in terms of playing the game. Whether it's balance, whether it's competitiveness, whether it's ease of use, whether it's ability for the devs to control what the heck is going on in this game. Because remember, one of the things we want is we want the developers to kind of be able to fix things when they break, right? Like the way they did in the fall when they realized, oh no, having a Karazhan meta of 2-3 times what the other cards are, more, so it's actually 3 or 4 times, is bad because of Firelands Portal. They can step in and be like, all right, we're not going to do that. But you need to give the developers tools to be able to do that. And if you need to put all the cards in, or mass majority of all the cards in, they're limited a little. So I mean, there's just a lot of things, right, that kind of pushes a lot of pragmatic things that push towards this being a good change. And the only things that kind of pull against it, that's saying, well, this may not be the most desirable change, is this ideal.
Right. I see. So if I were, because you've said some stuff that might be, I don't know, a little bit confusing. I think if I were to sort of summarize what I think you're trying to say is you don't love the changes, and there's other stuff out there, but in terms of whether this change is good overall for the future of the game, it's a yes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think you make some good points there. For me, my score, so you'd be around a 7 out of 10, maybe a little
maybe
bit lower.
6.5, 7.
Maybe 6.5. So for me, it's 8.5 or 9.
I know you really like it. So why do you really, really like this change?
Because, so first of all, I think both of us agree with this statement, right? Currently, the 100% pure wild arena, that cannot persist, right?
Yes.
That cannot persist.
Yes.
There
can never be a system in which you force new players to learn 1,000 cards.
Yes, totally. So that is something that we are in agreement about. One of your points is that sort of there's lots of things you can do. They picked one of many choices, and they sort of almost copped out by picking an easy choice, right? Going standard instead of maybe a more nuanced decision that might be better overall, but wasn't as easy, right? For me, I think this is just the best decision, period. Because I think the simplicity is a big advantage, and the fact that because players sort of start in constructed first, right? They always start in constructed first. They're forced to by the rules of the game. They're forced to by the rules of the game. They start there. It's much easier to transition into arena if it's the exact same card pool. And when you're talking about the purity of the arena, sort of, I never saw wild as part of a core pillar of the arena. I thought it was always about drafting and sort of the card randomness and doing the most that you can out of with what you get, right? With sort of the cards that you're dealt. I thought that was always at the core. And so if they switch it to standard, I like the fact that it's more easily accessible. It's very elegant. It's very simple. And I just can't possibly think of a better solution, because I think if they make just small tweaks here or there, getting rid of some cards, changing bonuses, you either have to explain that to someone or it becomes very burdensome, right? Because every single expansion or every single year, they have to make very fine-tuned adjustments, if you're gonna start fine tuning it, you better like even more fine tune it
Yeah.
later on, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's like it's kind of where you hit it. That's what annoys me about this change a bit. That's why I don't give it terribly high scores. But if you listen to anybody who knows the arena and they're like, "Oh, this is gonna make the arena worse," and the reason is not just I like to play with all the cards, but like actually having something to do with like on the board or whatever, I don't think they've thought this through, or that they're gonna change their mind once they see what the standard arena looks like.
Right.
Just we always know it's like so hard to balance constructed and arena, and now we're at least going like the developers are going to be able to balance constructed and arena, and that's it. They're no longer going to have to balance arena with the idea that warriors are all going to draft death spites all the time, and we don't want death spites in the meta anymore, or like zombie chows exist, or like weird stuff like that. So your potential for out of control combos at once it gets limited in the ways that they don't want, and it gets expanded in the ways that they do want, because now each set has a higher like natural kind of space, because the denominator of the number of cards being offered is reduced. So your themes of each expansion can come out better than they have, right? Like you would actually be able to get Jade decks to whatever degree that they want. You would, and while getting this Jade deck, you could still get like a Jade deck the next expansion, right? Like Jade won't just be for this expansion because there's an offering bonus. There's in the next expansion, this, even if it doesn't have the same offering bonus or have an offering bonus at all, the pool is still like half. So one thing that's going to happen, if you haven't figured this out already, is once it goes standard, Jade cards are going to be great. And by great, I mean it's going to be kind of how good it is right now. When they take away the bonus, but then change it to standard. Which is not that great, but it'll be better than like totally worthless, right? It'll be better than, oh, that's definitely just a 1/1.
Yep.
And that's one of the reasons they did it. But okay, so back to why I'm like annoyed by this. I'm annoyed by it because this was the bare minimum that Blizzard could have done. And you're kind of looking at it and you're saying, well, this was the obvious step that they should have done.
Right. And I think it is.
It is the bare minimum and the most obvious thing because it's right there on the table.
But I think it also happens to be the best.
Okay, my problem with it is that the cost is real and it's high. And the cost doesn't have to be that high if they came up with a more complicated solution in which they use more resources to it. Like, I agree. Pretty much any other solution would be less elegant. You can't just say, standard, look, it's like constructed, look, you understand. And Blizzard's all about, ease of use when it comes to Hearthstone. But when it comes to the limited experience, they can do so much. They can do so many new, like, limited formats. They can spin Arena into many different ways, and they're not doing it, and they're still not doing it. And instead of, like, exploring the potential of the Arena, like, taking this as an opportunity to do so because Arena's getting unwieldy and they had to, like, do something with it anyway, what they're doing is they're limiting it. So there was a fork in the road where one is least effort, more focus, more narrow. The other road is potential, like a greater and better product, a lot more resources and like balancing and things like that involved, but to really like focus in on this. And they've gone into the do very little to nothing branch. And it's not that they haven't done this before. Like, I'm not, like they did this with Constructed. I always bring this up. If you've been playing Hearthstone since beta, Blizzard repeatedly, all the time, whenever they ask them, what are you going to do? Are you ever going to rotate these cards out? What do these cards mean to me, right? Like, if I buy a pack, will I be able to use these cards forever? And Blizzard will always be like, well, I don't know exactly, but it's like at least like 3 years down the line because we don't release cards as often as Magic the Gathering. And we're definitely going to do something more creative than Magic the Gathering. Like, we're not going to just copy them. Like, we're not just going to rotate like sets out after a set amount of time. We're going to do something else because we're a purely digital card game and we can do that in a way that others can't. They said it like a bunch of times. It's not just like one random interview from like one guy. Like, Broad said it, like other developers said it. And 2 years later, lo and behold, they come out with their new innovative system that they do not even say is new and innovative because they know it's not. because they thought about it some more and they said, well, this is the obvious and easy and least resource intensive way to do this. And they went with it. And it's okay, right? And the standard arena is going to be okay as well. But you've missed out on the opportunity to do something great. And look at Constructed. Are they going back and doing something great anytime soon with it? In terms of like the basis of how the mode is set out? No, it's just locked in. That's just how Constructed Constructed Hearthstone is always going to be, because this is now the precedent. This is now the rule. So I think the loss that is going to happen here, I don't think people are overstating it when it comes to what's going to happen to Arena in the future, and the fact that it is a real loss. It is a real loss of like half the card pool almost.
It is. So it is a loss of almost half the card pool. And jumping off what you said, how you see this as a lost opportunity, right? That's sort of how you phrase it. It's
and it's not. I think just to add one more point, like I was very happy when they removed certain cards from the arena.
Okay.
I was very positive about that, because that was always a stopgap measure. They started off and they were like, we're doing this for now, everything's going to change later, but like that's not going to happen for a while, and we just want this to be a good experience for you in the meantime, right? They specifically said that. And that's very reassuring, and it's exactly how they dealt with it. It's because an issue came up, they needed to fix it really fast, and the actual solution can't come until much later, so they fixed it. This is not that kind of fix.
No, it's not.
This is the future of Arena. This is it. So that's why I don't feel very positive about it, because this is kind of it. We've seen what Team 5 does. We've seen it in Constructed, and they like Constructed much more than they like Arena.
So here's the thing. That you see it as a lost opportunity. You said there was a fork in the road. There could have been potentially greater things out there, right? I think that by going simple, Arena is set up to be greater. Like that's where I'm getting at. I don't see, if they do a lot of sort of like small tweaks, taking out cards here, taking out cards there, this, that, I don't see Arena being able to be featured in like future tournaments. I don't see it like sort of having this. I'm not as optimistic about the future of competitive Arena. That's sort of the problem I see. I see this simplistic solution as setting it up.
So you're still looking at it in terms of competition. Like later.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
looking at it as just the game, like for people who are playing like.
I think for people who are playing the game as well, and it's always, like I think always in your head you can be like, there's a missed opportunity here. They took the simplest solution. I've thought about it for a while as well. And the fine tuning, like last time when they tried to do, and it wasn't very fine tuning, right? They just sort of looked at the win rates and everything, but fine tuning, look, even if they called up like the top 10 Arena players and like, had a sort of conference call and asked, and then, went through, like, there's going to be problems there. And the problem I see is every single time you make adjustments, they have, like I said, it has to be more fine-tuned, right? Like even more fine-tuned, taking account your past changes, using the data that you now have to tweak it as well. It's not only more resource intensive, it just gets so razor's edge that I think it becomes unwieldy. It becomes not fun in that way. You're putting this microscope on these changes, and then, like I said, these kind of things weigh down a game. And so going back to what I originally said, I don't see this game mode, even though it could be more fun or it could have more potential. I don't see that game mode ultimately having a future, just because of sort of month after month, year after year, you keep on making these tweaks, it becomes some sort of Frankenstein. It could be like a very efficient, beautiful Frankenstein, but it's still a Frankenstein that won't go anywhere, that won't actually get exposure in the gaming world because it's just so burdensome.
Like, what do you mean by the gaming world? Like people playing it, or?
People playing it, and also like potential tournament scenes, right? Like you have to sort of explain all these changes, and then once they change it, I see it as sort of just too like you'd have to spend too many resources to make so many small changes on a razor's edge.
See, I see it the other way. I think like when it comes to people playing, they don't care about this stuff too much. And like the most players, right? Like if you say like these cards aren't in the arena or whatever, and they don't even know about it, they don't care that much when they find out. And when they find out, they'll be like, okay. And to the extent they care, they'll memorize it or like reference it. And to the extent they don't care, they just won't care. They'll just draft the best card, right? Like all they need to do is draft the best 3 cards. That's what the mass majority, the 99% of the casual players, right? That's how they'll feel. So you're not affecting in terms of the people playing the game. It's not really a consideration for the people playing the game how complicated the underlying rules of the game are when it comes to something that they don't have to interact with, right? That's one of the things with offering odds. It's one of the things with, it's how Blizzard's gotten away with it so far, right? Like
it is, but I think offering rate, like the more they change about it, the more frustrating it will be for players.
Well, the more frustrating it is for people who care. So I'm in the point.
Sure.
I'm talking about like the mass majority of players who like don't care or don't even know. Like if you ask 99% of the arena players, how many do you think can get within a 1 to x.5 ratio of the correct relationship between a rare and a common in terms of
Oh yeah, no, like
which has been the same for like ever.
Here's the thing, though. Right now, you basically say, okay, offering rates, whatever. Like, I'm okay with that. Because after they make all these changes, you know that there's like 20 rules that you don't really know.
Yeah,
like,
but that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that they don't matter.
The more frustrated it is.
No, I'm saying that they don't like. This is one number. It's one very easy to remember number. It's a number that affects every single draft multiple times. Right? When you're just trying to figure out the odds of getting a rare versus getting a common. But people don't think about it. They don't know it. They can find it online, like, provided the information already. Before we were even, a thing in the arena community, this information was out there. And, we publicized it and reconfirmed it. And it hasn't changed still. And still, people don't know it. People don't know it. And why do they not know it? Because they don't have to play. They don't even have to play at a pretty high level.
Right. They don't have to know it, but after like 20, 30 changes, will they feel the same way? Because a lot of people like know that there's information that they don't know.
It's not a change, though. There's no change here. This is something that's been in the game for the entire time that Blizzard never told anyone.
They know that there is information that they don't know, right?
Yeah.
But for them, it's sort of small.
Yeah, they get a feel for it.
Right. They're just
they know all they're comfortable with is rares are less frequently seen than commons.
Sure, but you keep on making changes and you keep on adding stuff that they don't know, people are eventually going to get frustrated because it's not most people are totally blind to it. A lot of people just know that there are some unknown
don't care
factors.
That much. It doesn't affect them that much.
The more people will care that they don't know. That's the problem, right?
I mean,
after 2 years, there's going to be a lot of stuff that they don't know that impacts the game if you keep on making changes. Right now, people are okay with it because they see it as simplistic and they still have a feel for it. But as you keep going on, people are going to get increasingly frustrated if they know that there is a lot of stuff that they don't know.
I don't think that's how people work when it comes to some game that they're playing on, even if they're good at it, but still like, on a more for fun to casual level. I think your whole argument boils down to, of this small, very small circle of people who like really track their stats, really get more than 7 wins per run with like all classes, trying to figure out where they are in the top 100 of the leaderboard. Like, for those people, it's going to get frustrating to keep up because the rules get more complicated. And for those people, having a set system is going to have its benefits because Blizzard could potentially make it more easily make it into a tournament, give support to it and stuff like that. Like I was talking about, right? It's easier to develop with that, those rules in mind than to have to curate it or to do like any kind of more creative and more resource intensive thing. But I think the benefit, like from where I'm standing, the benefit that you're talking about is small to a very small group of people. I don't think Blizzard's really thinking about that, except maybe the tournament thing. Like, they may be looking ahead and thinking like, well, if we want to make an arena tournament in 2018, this will be an easier thing for us to work with operationally than the current rules. But that doesn't affect the vast majority of people, and I think it's a little out of touch to like try to say the 99% care about this.
So I mean, where we fundamentally differ is just who we think will care about this, right? Like, you see this as just being like the people who are going for the leaderboards will care. I think that on a very basic human level, like whenever a person like enters sort of a competitive environment, right? I'm not saying that they are competitive as in like, leaderboard competitive, but this is a PvP game, right? Whenever you enter that and if there's a lot of sort of these hidden numbers and hidden factors that you don't know but would give you an advantage if you
would it give you an advantage if you know?
It would frustrate you.
Would it give you an advantage though? I think the reason it doesn't know is people don't know is because the ratio between rares and commons is either 1.5 to 1, 2 to 1, 2.5 to 1, or 3 to 1. Does knowing which one it is really advantage you when you're drafting, when you're not using an algorithm? No,
it's not just about rare. Let's say they take out more cards, right? They take out like more cards. Like right now, do they advertise anywhere which cards are taken out? No, right?
It's in like patch notes somewhere,
cards,
like
and then
article.
Later on they put back more cards, and then they take out other cards.
But then they will create something.
Increase offering bonus to certain.
But they will create something. It's not going to be like this was a stopgap. Remember, if they're actually curating it in some way, there'll be a list somewhere. It'll probably be linked from the actual game client, presumably.
I'm just saying it's not just about rarity probabilities. Like it's not just about that. And if it's not just going to be about rarity probabilities, then you're also introducing separate categories. So
what do you mean separate categories?
So it's going to be like changes to rarity probabilities, also changes to, let's say, certain card stats, also changes to certain cards that are, or like, taking out certain cards, and then also adding in other cards.
I don't know about changing card stats. I think they're going to be pretty like set about keeping cards.
Sure, right. I mean, we can argue whether or not they do this, but that's what I mean by categories,
I guess I wouldn't create categories, and you want to?
Well, I'm just saying, like, these are changes that people will get frustrated by, even the players who are not going for top 100. Because it's just human nature for you to get frustrated if you know that there's, like, these factors that are not.
But I think you can create elegant factors the same. Like, what's standard but a factor? What's standard but cards, created before this date will not appear?
Right, but
it's just a rule. So instead of having that rule, you could have like 3 other better rules. Is my point. Because the standard isn't made for the arena. It was never made with the arena in mind. It doesn't quite fit with the philosophy of the arena, which is why people get so like instinctively upset about it. Because there is this, like we talked about this before, like earlier, about why people are like, just they feel upset, even though the arena is becoming better as a product to actually play. Because you're taking something that's made, like, I feel like this is like going into like the Middle East as Britain and then drawing random boundaries because that's how, like, you don't know what's going on there, but this is simple for you. And we're just going to leave it there, and they'll sort itself out. And it's better than drawing no boundaries, because then they're going to fight over it forever. Well, questionable, and now they're kind of fighting over it forever too. But like, this is kind of what I feel like is happening with the arena. Is like they're taking an issue that works really well in the Eurocentric mindset, and they're importing it into a different area where it doesn't quite work. And it's better than just like doing nothing. Right? Definitely. But that there are better solutions. And if you don't do it now, if you don't take this step now, the issues that are going to come for the next 100 years, probably not 100 years for this game, but it's going to, you're going to leave it in a worse spot. This is the opportunity time. And you're going down that fork in the road. Of drawing these lines. Right.
The way you've categorized it as like, okay, so standard is like one rule, right? and other stuff can just be maybe 3 rules.
Yeah,
Here's
but different rules where you
wait,
actually
wait, wait.
like looking at
Okay,
the arena to
so
get.
here is the problem with that. Like you're saying those 3 rules, and my counter, I guess, question would be sort of like, what rules can you actually think of? And second of all, like I see standard as like very simple, right? Like we've talked about the simplicity, we talked about the elegance of it. You can't. I don't think you can just categorize it as like, oh, it's standard. Here's one thing. You could just add 3 things that would be good. I can't think of 3 things that would approach anywhere just 3 times sort of the change of standard, right? Like the effect of it. It would have to be very, very complicated, very fine-tuned. And like I said, those changes have to sort of grow exponentially down the line. Like, that's what I mean by it. I don't think there is some, like you say, oh, you implement 1 rule, just implement 3 rules and you don't have to touch them again and it'll be fine.
Well, no,
and
I think you do have to touch them. I think you have to repeatedly touch them. I think that's kind of the point.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But I think that's what it takes to create the best products for the people. I think it takes you touching it a lot. And I think it takes more stuff, and I think it takes more resources, and it takes more brain power. And I'm disappointed that Blizzard is not committing that to it. And I know that this is the point. This is the fork in the road. They're not committing the brain power. They're not committing the resources to this because they will not ever, well, maybe not ever, but at least not in the next 2-3 years, commit the resources to this. This is it. Like, whatever system, a little, more fleshed out than what they have right now, because what they have right now isn't final. There may be like a little more like tweaks here or there, or like a additional thing, but this is what we're getting. And to the extent we get anything more, it's going to be in the form of like tournaments or like just stuff that doesn't really affect people except for them to like watch and enjoy, right? But when it comes to their gameplay experience, this is it. We're getting the 1 rule. Look at Constructed.
So,
this is what's happening. They're going to change the rewards, maybe. They're going to, do whatever. But, like, that's Arena. They've solved it. And when I say they've solved it, I mean they took the MTG thing that they were really thinking that they were better than, back in the day, and that their product was different, and then they realized it wasn't, and now they're, like, putting it into the Arena, which is, like, even 1 more level removed. I don't know. It doesn't... If you're telling me this is the best possible solution, I think you're definitely wrong. If you're telling me this is the
better solution for you,
I'll be totally honest. I think just keeping a list of cards that are not in the arena is a better solution. I think keeping a list of cards that are not in the arena at all and another list of cards that are in the arena 1/4 the normal offering rate, which can be described as rarely seen or whatever, right, to the public, rather than giving them a specific number, but like, within the rule set. Just that like one thing essentially, right? Like creating different offering rates on lists and curating it. I think just that simple of a thing would be better. Now, would it be that much better than what we have right now? I think it would be a good step above it, because you're keeping all the cards that people like. People like Krakens. People questionably like piloted shredders or not, but I think people can live with seeing less piloted shredders. But you cater to the fact that people want to see all the cards in the arena that are possible, while also figuring out the issue of balance and making sure that the flavors of the new cards really get put in. So instead of having a wild standard distinction, which is a sledgehammer, it's not a scalpel, you instead have like different sets have different offering rates. Here are the offering rates for these sets, and you have it updated and changed every time an expansion comes out to create a new meta. You can do it within the middle of a meta, like we did in Karazhan. And as technically what they're doing in every single adventure release week by week.
Right. So let me ask you, how is that a simple solution for players? Like,
what do you mean? Because players don't care. For 99% of the players, all they read is cards in, like, certain sets are seen less frequently than others. These are the sets, they happened a long time ago. Certain cards are not seen. Here's the ban list. And here is the, and the rest of the cards are normal. And then you tell them or don't tell them the offering rates for commons and rares and whatever. What do you mean? How is this? This is very simple, right? I could go more complicated.
It's simple in that you can say it in a sentence. That's the only simplistic thing about it.
But isn't that what simplicity is?
No, I mean,
when it comes to someone trying to understand this at a basic level, that's what simplicity is. When it
well,
comes
you could
to
summarize anything in one sentence. Any change you could summarize. You could just say,
what do you want from me?
I'm just saying there is no simple solution here. Because you can always
No,
summarize
but I'm
something
saying
in
there
one-
is a simple solution. You're like recursively defining your statement. You can't do that. That's not.
No,
That's not
what
like
I'm
an argument.
saying is, how is this simple for a player from their playing perspective?
Well, I'm saying it is simple. Like what I just said, that was pretty simple. It fits in like 2 bullets, maybe 3 with like a link. Is it as simple?
It's not simple. No. It's not, you say they don't care, which is different from simple. Because if they
No. It's going to be really complicated. The point is that it's complicated. I've always said it's going to be complicated. I'm saying that you only need to understand a small portion of it to access 99% of it.
No, you can't say it's simple then. You can say
we have different definitions of simple. What I'm saying is it's easily accessible. That's what I meant by simple. Sorry. It's complicated. It's supposed to be complicated. Hearthstone's complicated. But the whole point of a good game is that it's easily accessible, but there's a lot of layers and it goes deep. That's the whole point of making a good game, right? Like, why would you make a good game and have it be simple? That's a bad game.
You want layers in the proper places.
That's what I'm saying. That is the proper place, because you can play it and you can understand how the rules work in enough of a manner that when the rule starts happening to you, you can be like, oh, that's why I'm not seeing Pilot Shredders that much, or like whatever. You can play with it, and then if you want the more specific rules, you can click, and then there's stuff there, but you don't really have to know it. Or Blizzard could do their thing and just Blizzard probably will do their thing and just not actually tell you even.
All right, so I think we've discussed enough in which I sort of understand where differences are. So sort of we have a difference in where we think the layers should be, right? Like sort of this in terms of a layered game, because I think we both agree that Hearthstone
you think there should be less layers. I think there should be more layers as long as the appearance.
No, I think there should be layers in the gameplay that you don't have to search on an external website to be able to find.
Well, you always have to do that.
Yeah, you have to do that for some stuff right now. Yes. I don't like adding there. Like, I don't think that is a good layer. Like I said, we differ on sort of where we think we should add the layer, right?
There's just rules. Everything's just a rule to the game. And to the extent that you can explain the rules to the game in the game, like a tooltip, you would, and you do. And then if they want to look, it's not like the game is going to give you every number. The game will never do that. And so you have a choice of putting all the numbers out online somewhere and publishing it, or just not and having the community figure it out. That's how every game works. Think about every single game you have played in the last 10 years. That's how every game works. And so you're saying the layer in which you cannot say in a simple statement and cover everything within that statement in a tooltip is in a different layer and it's bad. I'm saying there's no principle. That's just a principle you're making up. Because everything,
well, no, I mean, there's no principle for gaming. This isn't, we're not talking laws here in which you have to follow exactly what was previously, you have to exactly build upon that. There's no, each game is its own entity, right? There are sort of unwritten, whatever, traditions and expectations, but there's no, we can't talk about it in that way because no game is bound by anything then.
What? I'm saying it's very, I think you're making this way more complicated than it is, and you're drawing artificial distinction, and you're taking that distinction of whether it's in a tooltip or in an external website, because that's just all stuff you read. And you're taking that distinction, and you're saying that's hugely important. And I'm saying, as long as you can play the game and figure it out and have fun with it and improve in it with the tooltips, then no matter how complicated it is in the back end, it matters a lot less because it only matters to people like you and me, and it doesn't matter to 99% of the players who are playing the arena.
All right.
And the people like you and me can click on the website and can and will read it and will bitch at Ixar to find out more when he's unclear about it. So I'm saying there are 2 pools of people. One pool, you're concerned, you're blowing way out of proportion to what they actually care about. And the other pool, we don't care whether it's in a tooltip in the game or on a website. In fact, most of the information we find about every game we play is on a website. It's not ever in the game because it's just always too much information in the game.
Yeah. So I think once again, we come back to what we think people care about, right? And I think we'll just end it there. And it's like, all right, we spent a long time on it, but I think it's really important. And I think we actually touched upon like some very important things that Blizzard probably thought of, or if they didn't
Blizzard
think
definitely thought about this. They definitely thought about this. I mean, it took when they were doing Constructed, they probably thought about some of the same things.
Exactly.
So,
But
I mean, we're going. This is not, like I said, right? I'm not the guy that comes out and creates like the most interesting or whatever idea, but I can look at something and say, yeah, you could do better. And I propose something, which is something they're like half already doing, and it's just iterative, right? I'm not like dropping a bombshell on you guys with my idea of, you know, different offering odds on different types of cards, whether it's by a set or by like a type or whatever, right? Like, the vague part is that someone has to make that decision. Blizzard doesn't really want that responsibility, it seems, or the resources to it, and it would make a better game. And that's the fork that I'm talking about. You could take this in a direction that will solve a lot more problems in the future and make this a better game, or you can do kind of maybe not the minimum required, but pretty close, and still make a significant leap forward when it comes to the quality of the game, and then you miss out on the rest because you've ossified it into this precedent. Like, well, that's why I bring up the example of like drawing national boundaries in the Middle East and Africa. Like, if you know about the situation and why like a lot of things are messed up for, you know, the many decades that followed it, a large part of it is really just because they drew lines that made sense to them but not to the locals, and questioned whether there were lines that made sense to the locals, but the effort, if it were spent at that point, would have been a lot less than the effort that is spent today. And today, it's just not a viable solution. Like, these problems can't be resolved in that way anymore. It's a fork in the road. You take one path or you take the other, and Blizzard's taking this path, and there's going to be repercussions. Now, like I said, right, it's better than what they've been doing up until like last year, which is to not draw any lines. So, and like I said, right, like 6.5 to 7 out of 10. It's not like I'm against Standard Arena.
oh yeah. And what we talk about is we're going into sort of not just because we care about the future of the game. Like, these are sort of the big decisions that sort of every developer has to think about, right, in their game. So it's certainly really interesting. We could keep on talking about it for hours. We won't, don't worry. But
3-hour Lightforge.
I mean, I'm just looking forward to see what they do with Standard Arena.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think we've thoroughly exhausted that part.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, right, that's the more exciting topic. You keep saying the rarities, whatever. I'm like, what's there to talk about for the rarity? It's not that big of a change.
In terms of how it affects arena gameplay, you know what I'm talking? Like, obviously, the rarity rebalance will do as much, if you know, I think as much in terms of gameplay, right? Because, like we said, it's like playing 9 new classes. So that's what I mean. But yeah, obviously the standard one is the more meaty discussion. Now, okay, let's talk about the one that I am personally very excited about.
I'll introduce it, and then you can go on a 5-minute rant about it. Blizzard has officially announced Arena Leaderboards, the long-awaited Arena Leaderboards, and the rules are very simple. It is monthly, just like the Constructed Leaderboards. It is top 100, just like the Constructed Leaderboards. It is by region, just like the Constructed Leaderboard. Do you see a pattern here? Like, really, at the end of the day, they were just like, okay, whatever we're doing for Constructed, we're going to do it for Arena, which was the, like, minimum ask of the Arena community, and they're meeting it, and it's fine. But that's really all it is. And they're not breaking it down by class yet, because they haven't done that for Constructed. At least I suspect that's one of the reasons. But they have announced that the minimum run, at least to start with, is 30 in a month. So that's the amount of runs you will have to do, and you can pick all mage and rogue and warlock, and you know they will not know the difference between you like doing this all with like, I don't know, warrior or like druid or whatever. So that's gonna happen every month, and the first one's gonna be published in February, and it's about January.
It is. I'm really excited about it. I am going all out for it. Right now I have about 21 runs in NA. I need 9 more, and I was talking. All right, Aduk, I was talking to you about this earlier.
I think it's a stupid idea.
I will let you know definitively by mid this upcoming week whether or not I think it's possible. But until then, I'm going to be playing a lot of Hearthstone, and I will try for Here's the thing about EU as well, and I'm thinking about it now. So NA, I'm definitely going to get it. There's just not a problem there, period. For EU, I'm like, is my average even going to be good if I'm just going to be staying up and grinding Hearthstone? I don't know.
Is your life going to be good? Is your physical
wait.
and mental health going to be
life
good?
Life is secondary. Hell, that's like tertiary. That's not even secondary. That's tertiary now.
Aren't you still trying to like, I don't know, work out and like get a good body for Cancun or something? Yeah, Merms has a Cancun trip at the end of the month.
Like looking good, yes. What's going on inside of me? I don't. If it doesn't show up in the mirror, I don't really care, right? But yeah, so definitely going for NA leaderboard. I would say right now, I'm so excited about it. You don't even care. You're not even gonna try. You're not even gonna get 30 runs.
No, right? I rarely ever play 30 runs on my account. So anytime anyone else has the mouse, it's not on my account, so that doesn't count. The Arena Coop is its own account, so that doesn't count. I stream on Tuesdays for 2 to 3 arena runs, and then I pick up some days that like, you know, you have work or whatever. And now and then I play like some extra arena runs, but like I don't hit 30 usually in one account. So it's just not going to be applicable to me. I'm not going to be eligible for this. It's also one of the reasons why I don't play Constructed at all, because I could probably keep up with the meta. That's not a huge deal, but I can't like repeatedly get Legend. It's just too much of a time commitment, and I don't have that. Like I have a full-time job and I do other stuff, and I'm doing the Lightforge stuff. Not just the podcast, but the algorithm and all that. So, yeah. You know, running the Grinning Goat business, like there's a lot of stuff that happens, and I need to do that. I'm starting to work out this year.
You've been starting.
Okay, so I was going to work out yesterday and it didn't happen, but I'm definitely going to do it tomorrow.
It's always, didn't do it yesterday, will definitely do it tomorrow.
I bought new shoes, I bought the protein, I bought the milk, and the milk actually goes bad. So I would feel really, and I don't normally drink milk, so I would feel really bad if the milk expires before I work out. And that was like a week ago, so the milk is already, you know, getting there. Like, I have a lot of things lined up where I'm going to feel worse and worse and worse. Also, my pants are getting like really tight, because I've been putting on a lot of weight in like the last like few months. So there's just a lot of factors that have nothing to do really with how much I want to work out, that I've like outside pressures on me having nothing to do with why people normally work out, but like hard factors that's going to make this a reality. Like I can't replace all my pants. It's really freaking expensive and it takes time. I don't want to use that time.
Oh God, these excuses. It's just one after another. I can take like one or two, but it's just rapid fire excuses. Look, man.
Some people enjoy working out. I hear all these stories about like, I don't know, like endorphins, or like, oh wow, I'm so energized after a workout. That's like just not true for me. And I've done times in my life where I'm working out like very consistently for like years, and it's always painful. And I'm never feeling good, and I never get more energy. So some people just takes a little bit extra.
A little bit extra?
Okay, a lot extra. That's why I haven't done it for 2 years. 1.5. 1 3/4. Anyway, let's go back. Let's go back to away from me and back into the leaderboard. So it's 100 people, right?
100. Yep.
And we knew the number was like 7. What did Hafu and Crip get for like the top 3?
So it's about the top was like 7.6, and then Hafu got like 7.5 something, and Crip got like 7.4 or something.
Okay, so that's what it is, but that's over the course of like most of the year. So
right.
with a sample size of only 30 and in 1 month, it's gonna be higher.
Yeah, you expect. I was telling chat on stream, number 1 is probably gonna be like 7.9 or 8. I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then again, I mean, 30 is not like, you know, it's not 10 runs, right? In which you...
Like, what are you averaging right now?
So right now, over 21, or actually 22 runs, it's 7.5.
Oh, I'm beating you.
Well, with a much smaller sample
Yeah,
size.
okay. I have a
Yes.
sample size of like 8 this
8
month so
runs,
far.
exactly.
But I have
Um,
like a 7.8 right now.
yeah, yeah. Well, I had a really good, like, it was after 9 runs, I was averaging 9, right? It was
Hmm.
like 9 runs. My first 9 runs, I was averaging 9. And then things like sort of go back to, I guess, the way that they are, right?
Hmm.
And yeah, typically, like, you will, I mean, I obviously don't expect number one just because it there's going to be a lot of RNG here, right? But if you are good at the game, like
Well,
I
there's gonna be
oh,
RNG and people are not sniping people.
oh yeah, oh god,
Like,
Friday was a little bit rough on that
no,
regard.
it's just this is what you deal with as a streamer. That's why the
Yeah,
streamers
yeah.
shouldn't be number one. It was like I was super impressed that Hafu and Crip were like number two and number three.
Yeah. Well, also it's a different playing field now, right? Because you didn't know you were being tracked before. So
Yeah,
it sort of really
kind
it,
of.
it changes sort of the way that you play the game, the way that like when everyone knows that there is now this competition, everyone sort of picks up their game, right? Like, and everyone who wants to go for it now goes for it, and people who maybe just played a few here or there, suddenly they're back and they're like, I want to make top 50, I want to make top 100,
Hmm.
and now everyone just has it in the back of their head as well, right?
Yeah.
Like they play a lot of arena, they're like, oh well, maybe I'm not going to be top 10, but I want to see if I can be like 95, and let's pick the better class instead of it's like yeah, sure, I'll play this warrior instead of playing the warlock, right? Like I haven't
Hmm.
played it in a while. Now maybe it's an extra consideration. It's like no, I'm just gonna spam warlock. I want to see if I can get on the top 100. Yeah.
Yeah. I may do. I'm debating whether I'm gonna try for it in February. Just because it's too late now from when they announced it. I just don't have enough time to the rest of the month to even like think about it.
Yeah.
But in February, because I'm picking up two of your streams in the beginning, and if I like do Sundays, like extend an extra run, I could get to 30. But I'll make the decision at the end of the month. If I'm going for it, then I'm going to like try hard the whole thing and like pick the best classes and all that for a month, just to see. But I don't know. It's just kind of a stretch for me to play 30 runs. And I don't know. Do people normally play 30 runs in a month? Like, I guess I used to,
No,
like,
not
way
really.
back when. But I was, like, super hardcore. Like, that was when I was, like, writing articles and whatever, and I would play, like, barely 30. I would play, like, I think, like, 35 a month on average.
Yeah.
Like, it was barely above 30. And I thought I was playing, like, a lot of Arena. So, unless you have, like, a ridiculous amount of free time, you can't even do this and, like, ladder in Constructed, you know? Because you still have to
Yeah.
make it into like legend if you're like just a general good Hearthstone player. Like I don't think they're going to like people are going to just like abandon and construct it for a month just to do arena if they're typically a constructed focus player.
Yeah. So it's definitely going to be tough, and I do like the fact that they make it into a commitment, right? Because if you're going for top 100, you're probably just one of those people who plays a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you want to make it for the any sort of leaderboard is just going to be for the people who really like
Yeah,
the format and really try hard.
yeah,
And you want to minimize the random swings, right? You don't want these people just making new account after new account. And let's say it's 10 or 15 runs, right?
mm-hmm.
Well, we all know that a new account, the first 2 to 3 runs,
Oh
you
god, so
have,
you would make a new account every.
yes,
Oh jeez.
yep. And like people have said, it's like, oh, that's not a bad, even for 30 runs, people said that's not a bad idea. You make a new account, you play 5 runs, you see how you do, and then you decide whether or not you keep it.
Yeah, I mean it's a free to play game, so
Right. It's a free to play game, and if you're infinite, you can certainly do that. But that's sort of why they can't make it like 15 runs, right?
right.
Or 10 runs.
Oh, I don't want
Um,
them to make it fewer runs. I want them to make the tracking period to be a quarter. I want the season for constructed to be a
oh,
quarter. I wasn't saying that since before I was like playing the arena when I was like doing
yeah, yeah.
constructed and whatever in like May 2015, or is that when this game came out? Yeah, May 2015. I was doing constructed and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna do this again next month. Like I know the meta inside and out, and I like my deck, and I want to make a new deck and do the same thing. But like, geez, I have to do this every month. That's not the kind of commitment that I want to like be making. So instead, I decided to start streaming and make a podcast and create the Grinning Goat and build an algorithm and do a tier list. Seemed like much smaller of a commitment. I don't know why.
There you go. But yeah, I mean, I'm very excited to see whether or not I make it on NA. I'm gonna try for EU, but 30 runs is a lot. I will decide by the.
And as Chad always reminds us, EU is obviously way harder than NA.
No, I'm.
If you're listening to this, you're an NA player. That is not true. That's just something all the EU players say. And for some reason, NA players don't say the same thing about EU because I think we're like nicer people.
We're just too busy winning. When you win, you don't care. It's sort of an inferiority complex, I guess. JK, maybe not JK. I don't know. Anyways, so excited about that. Anyways, those are sort of the three, if we're going to categorize it, right? If we're going to categorize it, those are the three big things that were announced. And I just got to say, this was, I was surprised, and overall, I'm very happy, right? We talked about it during our New Year's podcast, how we're like looking forward, and we're saying this is going to be a big year, and changes need to come, and it's easy for them to ignore, but if they ignore it, this game will die. Yep. And then 2 weeks later, they make this announcement.
Yep. They're not ignoring it.
Yeah. Like, overall, if Team 5 is listening, I just want to say, like, thank you for doing this. It's fantastic. Like, the thought process, the communication, just giving Arena new blood and doing all this, I think it's great. Obviously, if you've been listening, you know, Adwick and I differ about, you know, sort of implementation and how good it is, but I think we can both agree that sort of starting the new year by announcing these changes, like giving us something to look forward to, that's always really, really good. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess like I'm hoping it comes in the next expansion. The rarity changes as well as the standard mode. That'll be because I just want it to happen because now we're kind of in a lame duck period where the arena's going to change forever, like very soon, and we're not there yet. So I don't know. So I do want it to come, and it's not that close, right? The next expansion isn't coming out till April or May, especially if it's going to be another big one. Like I think they're trying to do. They said they announced that they're going to do 2 big expansions and 1 adventure every year. So people think it's going to be like winter, spring are the big ones, and the summer is going to be the adventure. So if that's what's going to happen, it may not happen until April, May again. And hopefully by then we'll have a standard arena with new rarities and a whole very, very different meta.
Yeah. All right. So.
Yeah. If you're listening to this and you're one of those people that still listens to us because at one point you really cared about the arena, but now you don't really care as much, but you were like a really good player too, then maybe with the leaderboard, now you have something to kind of work for and get your name out there. It's on there. It's forever. You will always be able to Google your name on the leaderboard. It does not go away. You can still find the constructed ones from like early 2015 for the legend leaderboards. So that's a pretty cool thing. And if you continue to make it good, if Blizzard eventually creates arena tournaments, you'd be able to enter and collect points like all the constructed people.
I know.
Yeah. All right. So, question from the GOAT. Let's do that. We have more stuff, and I feel like we can't keep not doing class talk. So we should probably do class talk.
We could talk about it really quickly.
Yeah, let's not do Card Good Bad. I know it says Card Good Bad Cult Master. We'll do Cult Master next week.
Sure.
We're running really long.
Do you still want to ask question from the GOAT?
Yeah, question from the GOAT. We got to do question from the GOAT. What's question from
Basically, the question from the GOAT, it also ties into the topics we've been talking about. When they ultimately, like, let's just assume that they turn Arena into standard the same way and at the same time that they do constructed, right?
Mm-hmm.
What card are you going to miss the most in the arena?
Well, it's not Pilot or Shredder.
Right. Also, like, I guess a follow-up question is, which card are you definitely not going to miss?
Pilot or Shredder.
I don't care so much about Shredder as I do about Zombie Chow.
Yes, okay. I would. Yeah, Zombie Chow is also bad.
Zombie Chow is
too
just
swingy.
Right. It's like, dude, if you get it on turn 1, it's too good.
Mm-hmm.
It's way too good on turn 1. It's ridiculously overstated on turn 1. And part of the reason that it's good is like the downside just really doesn't matter. And it's not just about drafting, it's about whether you get it on turn 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you get it on turn 1, it's just way too good.
Yeah. What I'm really happy about of cards that I will never see again. I've said this in this podcast and like I've been talking about this for. I feel like I talk about this every single Lightforge now. Coghammer and Muster for Battle, gone. Totally gone. And on the same note, if that's what they're doing, hopefully they undo the freaking ban list. Like, if you're gonna take away all these cards, at least undo the ban list when it comes to standard, like when it comes to like core standard cards. Like, I want my snipe back. I want my, like, I don't, Cobra Shot's not. I think that was GBG or something. So Cobra Shot's not gonna be back and whatever. It's just out. But like, I want my snipe back. I want my ancestral healing back. And if that means Starving Buzzard is also coming back, and so is Warsong Commander, then so be it. Like, I want those cards back.
Valid. I'm gonna miss Glaive Zuka the most. I think a disproportionate amount of Hunter runs that go 12 have been because of Glaive Zuka. Now, that's an argument for saying it shouldn't be in the game.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I anticipate that, but I love playing Hunter, right? You know how much I love playing Hunter. It is one of my favorite classes. And it's one of those cards that makes Hunter work, right?
Yep.
It's really one of those cards that saved Hunter and that continues to save Hunter. And it's just one of those win cards. And because I like playing the class, I'm going to miss it. In terms of balance, in terms of how much it swings your deck by being able to draft one, or if you're lucky, more than one Glaive Zuka, you can definitely argue and say it shouldn't be in the game because of exactly how swingy it is.
Put this out there. Glaive Zuka is rated a 90. Anything over 70 is totally ridiculous. And there's only one other Hunter card over 70, and it is Quickshot at 73. That's it. That's a 27-point gap between Glaive Zuka and the next common class card.
Glaive Zuka is often just a win card, right? Like, you play it and then you just kind of automatically win. You get way too much. You not only get too much stats, you get initiative. Too much of that, and it is, and it's just a weapon as well. It checks off all the boxes that Hunter needs in a convenient early game card, and it's way too good, way too good.
You know what the next largest differential between the top cards. So first of all, like outside of warrior weapons for Fire War Axe and Fool's Bane and Death Spite, no other common class card is higher than a Glaive Zuka rated for I think pretty obvious reasons. But do you know what the second highest differential is between the highest common class card and the second highest common class card for a class? Because that was 27. I just want to give you an idea of how ridiculous 27 is.
Isn't it 17?
Did I do math wrong?
No, okay, 73 compared to 90?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 17, bro.
Yes, it is. Good catch. Okay, so do you want to know the next one?
Sure. Let's talk about the next one.
Wow, that is actually 17. I'm like thinking about it now. I'm like, I swear it's not 17. No, it's actually 17. That's actually 17. Okay. Well, it's Priest with Potion of Madness to Cabal, Talon Priest with 4.
Oh. Okay.
Sorry, with 6.
Yeah.
And the one after that is Flame Strike to Twilight Flamecaller with 4. So very different than 17.
Very different than 17. And those numbers that you said, I don't trust you with those. They could be like 20, or they could be like, just going the opposite way. I have no idea. I have no faith in you now.
Okay.
So we'll accept that for now. We'll accept that.
One thing I hate, though, is that Twilight Flamecaller is not going away. Ever. Like, for 2 more years. Right.
That card is really annoying.
All right. So that's Question from the Goat. Question from the Goat is brought to you by our patrons. Our patrons at patreon.com/grinninggoat. That's what keeps the lights on at the Lightforge. No card good bad today. We will do that next week due to time issues, and we are going to talk about class. like we forgot to talk about the druid last week, which is our fault. We just like left it off the list, and then we didn't remember it until we are actually doing the arena coup. And today we're doing the rogue. Like we're doing a rogue run after this. So why don't we just talk a little about both? You want to talk about the druid? I've been playing both of these classes a lot, so you can start talking about whichever one.
Druid, man, look, it's still not in a great spot, right? It still holds the distinction of being one of only 3 ping classes. So it does have that going for it. Its ping is definitely the weakest of all the ping classes, just because you don't get to store an extra charge like the rogue does, and you still have to use your face, unlike the mage, who can just keep on using it over and over again. They have some sort of flexible cards, but as for the mechanism that was introduced, Jade druids don't work in the arena. They just do not. So they are missing the new mechanism that should be featured, but is ultimately not. And they're sort of missing an extra bonus to beast synergies that they had in the previous expansion. So it's okay. Like they're one of those classes that I think definitely is suffering. But in this meta, like I don't think anyone's doing like terribly. And yeah, you can definitely survive as a druid, but it's not looking good.
Yep. I've always had a lot of success with druid. Just normally, it's like my number 3 class, usually maybe my number 4 class, no matter what the meta is. So, and it's important to know that people don't do, like, average players don't do well with the druid. It's like one of their worst classes consistently, even though it has a hero power ping, which is like very, very useful for wiping away mistakes. And it's just because it's not that you don't have a lot of powerful cards, and so you have to play the game in a very meticulous, like, fundamental based way. So I think it's a good measure of like your fundamental skills as a player. And when it comes to MSG, yeah, it got worse. There's not a lot of good cards, but there is one really good card it got, which is Mark of the Lotus. And what that means is your drafts are going to skew lower in mana curve because that's a 1 mana card. And so even if you get it to trigger on a lot of stuff, it's not a very big card. And what it also means, this is good about the Mark of the Lotus, you can play it in a way to make any card a curve card of 1 spot higher. It's the same as Smuggler's Run in that sense. Like, if you have a spider tank, but you need to play it on turn 4 instead of turn 3 because you had another 3-drop, well, you play your turn 3 card, it lives, you now play the spider tank, then you play the Mark of the Lotus, your thing that's remaining on the board eats your opponent's minion, so now you have, like, I don't know, like a 4-2 on the board or something, plus your new Yeti.
Yeah.
Whoa. What just happened? It's like a super Shattered Sun Cleric, right? Yeah, it used up extra card, but that's game changing. That's game swinging. And so that's what the druid is always looking to do. You always want decks that can do that, and you're always looking for opportunities that can do that because that is your only advantage in MSG. And again, it's very fundamentals on the board stuff. So you could win on card advantage still if you get big enough cards. But generally, you're going to be a little bit smaller than the big decks, than your mages, than your warlocks, than your priests. And so you need to get on the board, stay on the board, and then push face at some point. So your deck has to reflect that. You definitely need some reach. Like, that's a key thing. And you definitely need, like, enough stuff to curve out and buff. And all that basically means, well, it's looking like you're going to have less big cards. So generally, druids in this meta are not as big. And you can get a lot of success with it. It's, I don't know, I think I'm averaging like 8 wins per run with druid or something. It's higher. It's much higher than my average. And it's pretty consistent. I played a lot of druid in this meta. So yep. That's druid. It's already, like, I think druid's the most boring class in a good way. Like, I like that it's boring because it lets me reset. It's definitely my number 1 anti-tilt class. It's either druid or mage, and then I use paladin as like a third one because it's just so basic. I know exactly why I win, why I lose every game. Like, always.
That's true. Yeah, it definitely has a very straightforward style play.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And it's not too RNG swing. Like, I know why I win or lose as priest too, but it's frustrating because it's usually nothing I can do about it. Like, it's usually very predetermined. With druid, I feel like if I just play well, I will win most of my games. Like, the vast majority of my games. Whereas it's not the case with the priest.
Yeah. The sort of standard distribution is smaller,
Yes.
right? For Druid, Priest has lower lows and much higher highs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of you're going for consistency, and Infinite Arena players like consistency, right?
Yep.
That's
I
a
mean,
good
hey,
thing.
the original like Super Arena player that taught everybody how to play the arena, Trump, was number one. Was Druid. He was a Druid guy. Um, Even though that was kind of a different Druid back then, it's the same idea, right? The whole kit is designed to be fundamentals, and at that point, when the skill level of the arena was still so low, if you were just good at fundamentals, it was the most consistent way to win because you could just out fundamentals all your opponents.
Definitely.
Okay, so that's Druid. What we're doing today is Rogue, and I don't know. What do you want? Like, I have two 12-win runs with Rogue in this meta out of like 5 Rogue runs. So I think, and the other ones have gone like really well too. Like I have one that's like 11 with Ratsma, and then like one that didn't go so well, and another one that was like 8 or 9 or something. And none of those decks felt like terribly great decks, but we don't rate them at the same level as Mage and Warlock.
Yeah. The so I've been playing some Rogue. I haven't had that much success with Rogue. As in, it feels
Are you going
I don't.
fast or slow? Or mid range?
I've had fast. All right, so I played all of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you the problems I have with all of them. If you play fast, it's purely dependent on what cards they have, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there are so many clears now from the top classes, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're facing Potion of Madness from Priest. You're facing like all the clears from Warlock, right?
Yes.
Like from Demon Wrath to Hellfires to like all the stuff, and to Mortal Coils, which are really effective against you as
Yes.
a rogue, right? And mages from Twilight Flamecallers to Volcanic Potions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I don't like about aggro rogue.
Yes.
Mid-range rogue, you're just not a very good mid-range class in terms of you need to get the specific cards to play mid-range, right? Like sort of the very tempo efficient removals in order to play.
But that's
a
like
good
your
mid-range.
entire like class card set.
Right. But once again, you're dependent on those draws, and if you don't draw those, you have no other answers because you need those saps and eviscerates and whatever, right?
The new Jade card too.
Yeah, right. But that's sort of like you need a lot of J card. Like once again, we're getting draft dependent, right?
Yeah. No.
Right. And then if you play control rogue, you're either more draft dependent and also your hero power sucks in the late game. So I don't know. Like I just find rogue. It's still powerful. It's still good. It doesn't have this like set identity in which I'm just like, oh, okay, this is how I play rogue. And maybe I'm not playing rogue as well. I just see like inherent problems in fast, mid, and slow rogue.
So this is how I play Rogue now. I don't play it fast. I agree with you. The fast playstyle is just there are so many issues with it in this meta that is kind of like it's not really like a what do you call it? It's not like all a MSG thing. It's like legacy from like Karazhan and OG, right? They just keep doing things, and you're like it just builds up, and you're just in a very anti-early aggro meta right now. And then with what MSG adds, it adds like Mistress of freaking potion, like Mistress of Mixtures, like that's a killer for aggro decks, like an absolute killer. You don't even have to have it on turn 1, just like any time. That's 4 extra health.
If you're facing aggro, you don't want to play on turn 1. Like you actually want to play it on like turn 3.
Right? Exactly, because all you care about is dealing 2 damage to somewhere to slow him down.
Right.
And you get the 4 health, which is so huge. Like, that's 4 turns for the rogue just, like, pinging your face. And you're going to draw a taunt in the middle of that, and you're going to totally screw the rogue over. So, I agree about the aggro. I think mid-range and, like, even, like, a slow rogue, I think they both work pretty well, actually, in this meta. And that's because rogue is the only class that has this advantage when it comes to building your deck. So, right now, I think we all agree that decks are just bigger. Like... you need a lot of like size, and it's very draft dependent how much size you can get, right? Because the big cards that are even halfway decent don't happen all that much. But rogues can get around that, not by necessarily taking a whole bunch of like force tank maxes, but because rogues are the only class that don't need 2-drops. That's why all the 2-drops have like significantly lowered value for rogue than for other classes. In fact, assuming that my deck has like a normal amount of combo cards like Eviscerates or like or Jade Shurikens or whatever, given the choice to play a 2 or dagger up, I still usually just dagger up. And when I'm drafting, I could not care less how many 2s I have. I just presume that I dagger up on turn 2, and I come back onto the board in that, like, rogue turn 3, turn 4, turn 5 comeback, period. Sure, there's no Auto Barber anymore, but there's Naga Corsair, which kind of works in a very similar way. Sure, there's no Undercity Valiant anymore, but you get a 1-mana 3/2 now. That's pretty good. And Jade Swarmer is surprisingly good for this because it's the best combo trigger. You can throw it out onto any board and it'll do the same thing, right? It doesn't overextend because it's what do you call it? Like it has a death rattle, and at the same time, your opponent can't decide to like kill it or ping it or whatever because it's stealth. So I think there's a good place for that card. And so, what do you get when you don't take a lot of 2-drops?
More flexibility to take every other card.
Exactly. You get more removals potentially. You get more big cards. You get more card draws. You get more tempo cards. Because remember, when you dagger up on turn 2, you lose no tempo as rogue. You get your normal expected tempo from playing a card. You just lose a bunch of face damage. But you can make up for that later if you need to, for like healing cards or taunts or whatever. So, like, there's definitely a balance to be struck. And if you're going for a very late game rogue, you either need a lot of taunts or heals, or you actually do need some 2s, and like you do the sprint catch up with like like a Eviscerate or something with that has a combo effect. But I think they're both viable things that you can make. And then there's a bonus archetype now, which is Jade, because you're going to take Jade Shurikens whenever they come up, pretty much, because they're just pretty good cards. Like they're a near premium card by itself with no Jade, with 1/1 as a Jade thing. So, if you take a couple of those, then Jade Swarmers start becoming pretty premium too, and then really it's the easiest class to make a Jade deck out of, and you'll fall into it every now and then. And I don't mean you're going to get 5/5 Jade Golems running around, but if you get like a 3/3 Jade Golem, that's huge. You just gain 2 more card advantage and tempo from nothing. So, that's my experience with Rogue. I think it's trickier to play than it used to be, and you got to play it a little differently. And I don't think it's as good as a Mage or a Warlock, but I think it's a clear number 3 to me. I'd put it above like Priest and Pally. Any last words about any of this?
No, I think we should just step right in, see what we get, play run.
Play a run. Woo! All right. It was a long Lightforge, but we had a lot of news to cover, and we have a lot of thoughts about this news. Let us know what you think. Post it in the YouTube comments or our subreddit or wherever, or like tweet it at us. I'm really curious. I like reading about this stuff.
Yeah.
And especially from like the Arena community. And I thought this was going to actually create like a much bigger discussion than it has, because it's created a decent sized discussion, but like a lot of other things get way more discussion. Like when they come up, like just totally random things.
Well, it's because nothing is concrete yet.
That's right? True. Nothing's concrete yet, and it's not imminent, except for the leaderboard thing, which there's not like, you can't have an opinion about that right now, besides like yay or I don't care. So okay, but if you have like any thoughts about this, really curious to know. And also, again, we're opening up question from the GOAT to like all of our patrons, so if you want to submit it to us, or you can just tweet it at us, even if you're not a patron. We want we like your questions. I mean, you're more creative than we are. That's what it comes down to. So send those over to us as well, and we'll incorporate it into the next Lightforge, along with Card Good Bad for Cultmaster. Also, if you want a Card Good Bad, feel free to ask us as well, because we're getting to the point where
definitely
we've kind of like, after Cultmaster, there's like 2 more cards we really want to talk about, but we don't have to talk about them right away. And the other cards we're all like, yeah, we kind of like, feels pretty normal to us. So if you have any questions about the tier list, why something's very low rated or very high rated preferably, or like, if a card is medium rated and you think it should be like really high or really low, that's it's a good place to ask us as well. Okay, so until next week, this is Adwicta.
This is Merps. See you guys.